So how do you do it? How do you hold your pick like the Mighty Hetfield? Get your 2 fingers, put the pick literally on top there, grab it with your thumb so that the pick is pointing straight up, and then simply tuck your fingers in, and there you go. Hey, hope you're doing well. James Hetfield is considered to have one of the best picking hands in heavy metal, which raises the question, why don't more people actually hold their pick the way he does? Like, seriously, do you know someone who holds their pick that way? I'm talking rock stars. If you do, please comment and let me know, because I'd love to see that. I know I've definitely seen a few people on Instagram and different social media platforms that do that, but it's usually only when they're playing Metallica. But for the most part, people hold their pick normal, thumb on top, like this. You do that thing. So I have recently, probably in the last 6 to 10 months-ish, started holding my pick like the mighty James Hetfield. But to understand why I've done this, besides the obvious obsession, I need to tell you a bit of a story. So I started playing guitar when I was in my early teens. I'm a self-taught guitarist, which is probably no surprise to most of you. I got shown a few things from friends, but at the end of the day, I kind of had to figure it out myself. When I finally decided to settle on a pick, I first started out with these bigger bass picks, and I think these are a .88, but this is quite old and I've rounded the edge, well, sharpened the edges. But I used to hold my pick with my thumb angled back the wrong way. Much like Ola England, for example. Now, there's 2 reasons. One is my thumb does that. It just naturally goes backwards. So it just felt normal and right for my thumb to be that angle. But the other reason is, and hear me out, I hold a pen like this with my thumb angled backwards and 2 fingers. So when it came time to holding a pick, if I just swap out the pen for a pick, that's how the pick goes. I mean, it makes sense, right? Being a big Metallica fan through high school, I watched videos and I would see Kirk Hammett and his fingers would go out. I didn't pay attention to the thumb. I just saw the fingers. They'd go down like this. So I started trying to let go with my middle finger and only playing with 1 finger, still with that thumb angled backwards. Now, whilst I can still kind of do it, that was slipping and it felt really strange and like I didn't have much hold of the pick. And that's just how I played for like 20 years. That being said, I was primarily a rhythm guy. I would strum chords, I would chug power chords, and someone else would do the lead stuff. And that way, I could have my guitar down pretty low and I wouldn't have to worry about doing anything too flash and fancy. But then he left and all of a sudden I was the only guitarist. So the guitar got a little bit higher and I had to practice a lot more. But I was never quite getting the articulation that I wanted to, and I wasn't able to do much of the lead stuff that I wanted to do. And I told myself that the thumb being backwards was the problem. So I worked for, again, 6 to 8 months, I reckon nearly 12 months, forcing my thumb to go the opposite direction. Now, that change for me was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. All of a sudden, I couldn't do upstrokes. It'd get stuck underneath the string like that. Whereas before it would just slide through because that's what I was used to. As soon as I had to do an upstroke with that pick grip, man, that was weird. And then eventually it got easier. I started trying out different things, smaller picks, thicker picks, jazz 3s, Petrucci's. And as you can see, I ended up with quite the pick collection. I eventually set it on these Tortex T3s. They're 1.5. They're quite thick, they're big, they had a nice point on them, and that kind of felt comfortable for this new style of playing. But still, it wasn't right, especially doing that sort of stuff. It slips out of my fingers. It would slide back up under my thumb. My fingers, I find, would end up under the strings. It was just a nightmare. I was constantly going through different types of picks, constantly trying to adjust and find the perfect angle for this new way of holding it. And because I'm only using one finger and I felt like I didn't have a good grip, I'd push harder. So my grip was really tight and I'd get a sore knuckle. I know, right? So fast forward through all of that to about 12 to 18 months ago, I decided to put together a Metallica tribute, and we're pretty damn good. We did our first run of shows and it was cool, and I was still holding the pick that one finger way, angled, normal. But when I was practicing, I was learning Moth into Flame. I thought, this isn't working. It's feeling stupid. I don't like it. It's not working on my picking hand. So I went through my pick collection, came across that big bass pick, and started playing my old way with the angled thumb backwards. And all of a sudden, I could feel all of those picks, which was a bit of a revelation. Before that, it was just scratchy and I was hoping for the best and it wasn't articulate. I wasn't getting the bite and the attack that I wanted, which just makes me wonder, had I just stuck with my original way of holding the pick, how much further would I now be, right? So on that day, at that very moment, I thought, if I'm going to do this Metallica show and I'm going to go with the 3-finger hold anyway, why not do it the way Hetfield does it? All of a sudden, I can feel every single one of those picks. Instead of it being scratchy, there's a definite down, up, down, up. I can count it. I can stay in time with myself. It's just so much easier. I've also started using, to keep in the theme, the Hetfield White Fangs. Now, they're quite a bit thinner than the 1.5. These are 1.14. Not heaps thinner, but obviously noticeably thinner, which I think is part of it, and it actually helps. With a thicker pick, it's more rigid. You're not going to get any flexion on the pick, whereas this is a bit thinner. So every time you pick, it's going to move just that tiny, tiny little bit. Now, it was an adjustment, of course. My thumb naturally goes backwards like it's broken. So to go this way was a bit of an adjustment. Initially, I would hold, and these fingers here would tuck up. So I'd be getting a lot of string noise coming up through there. So I had to push these fingers out to be able to get them out there so that I can mute all those strings and there's not extra noise. I'm still by no means perfect, but it's definitely almost natural for me to hold it like this now. The rhythm was fine. Doing the down picks was a bit of like new muscles had to come into play. My thumb was then all of a sudden rigid. When I was holding with one finger angled forward, my thumb would do this kind of thing. Realistically, there's no wrist action there. And it's a lot of this. And I think that's where I was getting too much movement. And then to hold the pick like this, I'm using a lot more wrist. The fingers are locked. The thumb is locked. And it's mostly this. Every once in a while, I do still do this kind of thing, but it's not too bad. The thing that struggled the most was adjusting for the lead playing. That was very, very different. I had a whole style that I was working on. I was doing like some economy picking. Now that's definitely suffered because I'm using my middle finger now. I don't have access to do that thing and it doesn't feel right. Maybe one day I'll get on top of that, but right now that part in particular doesn't really work. So there's been a sacrifice there as well, unfortunately, but that's okay. The lead playing is not perfect, but it's definitely getting better. Like I said, not perfect, but it's getting better every day. And to be honest, my alternate picking has improved a ton as well for the same reason as the rhythm. I can feel every single note when I'm picking, which is something I've not really ever felt in any kind of playing for a long, long, long time. The other trick is you want to try to lock your fingers and your thumb as much as possible and rotate from the wrist. That's where this cool playing style comes into play. me back to my original question. Why don't more people hold their pick like the Mighty Hetfield? I reckon the answer is because Hetfield is a rhythm guy. He's not known for playing solos. Yes, he does some here and there, but it's not his thing. You wouldn't say lead guitarist James Hetfield. Just doesn't sound right. That being said, he has some pretty great solos, and there's one on the instrumental on Death Magnetic. There's a section where he plays the solo. I didn't realize it was him, and it's actually pretty good. With that said, you can totally play lead like this. I'm not the best at sweeping, but right there, that sounds all right. And I'm using the same pick grip. It's great. It works. It's totally doable. So end of the day, when it comes to holding your pick, as everyone says, there is no right way. There is no wrong way. You just have to find the most comfortable way for you. And end of the day, for me, it was holding with 3 fingers and using a slightly thinner pick to get a bit more articulation on the strings. So there we go. That is why I now hold my pick like the Mighty Hetfield. It certainly didn't happen overnight, and it took quite a bit of persistence and practice, but it has definitely been worth it for me. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. See you next time.